Hello, you wonderful creatives. I'm Ash. This is Ash Rice Lots. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk a little bit about the elements of romance. All right, I know it's past February 14th. I do not put stuff out for holidays, but I figured why not? Since we're in the romantic mood for the month, we should just go over some of the elements of romance. And the reason why I thought about this was because I was advertised quite a few dark romances, and are we okay? Like, are we as a society okay? Like, I have definitely read some dark romances that were like, because they were in a big prison, so it was dark because of the situation that they were in, but not dark because one of the love interests imprisoned them, like in deplorable situations. Because a lot of these dark romances seem to have a lot of deal breakers, and I've been like, I can't read it. I can't keep going because there's nothing that makes me think that this relationship is going to reach that happily ever after. And when I say deal breakers, I mean things that could be like, okay, yeah, no, if you got this in your story anywhere between the hero, heroine, anybody that's in the story that is supposed to be the one in love, I'm not gonna care. It doesn't matter. I'm not gonna read it more than likely, or I'm gonna be like, this doesn't qualify. I don't know what you're talking about. And it's basically super duper dirty stuff that happens in a lot of these really popular books, and it's like a top layer of just crusty crap on it. And I know what it is. I see it, and then I don't want to dig down to read more, so it's usually a DNF book, which has been happening because there's things like torture in it, and not like the sexy kind. Okay, like there's torture, rape, starvation as punishment is in there. I've seen some willing abuse, like physical, mental abuse, like they know that that's what they're doing and they're doing it. And then any type of imprisonment in like super deplorable like conditions, like irredeemable. All of those are deal breakers for me. No amount of character development will get me to continue or to give like the approval of being like, yes, this was a romance. If it's between the two main characters, like I would hate to read it just in general. like if it happens to the main characters, but that can be a part of their backstory and things like that. But this is between the person that you're supposed to be spending your rest of your life with. No, like. And I also added a caveat, like with the imprisonment, it has to be in deplorable conditions. Outside of that, usually it's pretty fine. Like if it's not in deplorable conditions, it's part of their job, things like that. Like it starts off like that, but they would never do that outside of their job or something. Okay, but you can't make me believe, torturing somebody, you'll ever really and truly get over that. No. Like mentally abusing them, that will sully the relationship for the rest of the story for me. If it's between the two people who are two or more, I'm in, whatever. Two or more people who are supposed to be getting together in their story. And another thing is like, I'm thinking you're supposed to live happily ever after. That's part of the biggest thing with me in doing romances too. Happily ever after. You have to be happy at the end of this. How can you be happy with a person who has tortured you? How can you be happy with a person who has done deplorable things to you? No. It can be happily ever after, as in like the ending is wrapped up, neat bow. They will be happy forever because they have overcome the obstacles that they had. They made the ultimate decision to be together and stay together. They've declared it and all that good stuff. And then even if it's happy for now, like I've read some young adult stories where happy for now is a viable option too. It's a part of a series. They have the rest of their lives in front of them. You don't know if they're going to be happy forever, but maybe, we understand that for now, as the story ends, they're happy. And like I said, you can't make me think they're gonna be happy if they've been tortured by the person that they're supposed to be with. I just don't get it. It doesn't matter what genre it is, but this dark romance one has been the one that's been kind of like, are you for real? Are we for real? Are we for real supposed to be thinking that they together? For real? You tell me. But I will define what a romance, at least there's two definitions of what a romance is that I usually kind of piggyback on, in which there's a book called The Natural History of the Romance Novel by Pamela Regis that I did read some time ago, but I do have plenty of notes. From, but she defines the romance novel as a work of prose fiction that tells the story of a courtship and betrothal of one or more heroines, right? Then I did take a class some years ago, and it was the How to Write a Romance Novel, and it was a ed-to-go class that was provided to me by my local library, which is great. They had online class options available. And I actually took the class twice. I didn't fail. It was an online class. I just really wanted to get the notes and everything. I had lost it because of a computer debacle. But Priscilla Kissinger was the instructor for that class, and she defined romance as a work of fiction with the main plot centering on characters falling in love and struggling to overcome odds to create a healthy relationship. And I think that healthy relationship part of it kind of sticks with me, because that's mainly the reason why I think those deal breakers that we've been seeing in a lot of these dark romances make me think like, this is not a romance. This is like, why is it titled that? The elements of romance have always kind of played, into my plotting of books. This is anything that I've worked on for quite some time. And once I started letting things kind of like get out into the public, I made sure that I had at least the 8 elements that Pamela puts into the book that says, hey, we need to have this thing, in which I've read plenty of the books that she was using as an example. And I understood, the argument that she was giving. And I think that is a very valid point to make. So I wanted to go over that. I'm going to give you some pretty tight definitions, at least not really tight, but I'm gonna give you some of the notes that I have on them. First things first is number 1, society. We live in a society. The society defined. Basically, you're showing the world that your characters live in. That is your setting. That is your main thing. And one of the things that is shown in here is the problem within that world. So it could be a caveat such as like a family feud's going on. So the two main characters, when they get together, is going to be against this because of this family feud. That's probably one of the easiest, most prevalent ones we see all the time. Yes, so you define your society in some way is going to be against the relationship that's going to be in it. Then you have number 2, the meeting of the two main characters or more. We don't all kinds of love here. So they meet, and it'd be great if you have some conflict in that meeting. They have issues, it makes it more fun, and it doesn't make everything smooth sailing. If that meeting has to deal with some kidnapping, because they're a bounty hunter or something like that, that seems to be fine. That's fine. But if it's like they're kidnapping me because they're absolutely obsessed with that person, I think that is a line that has been crossed. No. So I think the situation, when it comes down to, like I said, the imprisonment type things and stuff like that, the circumstances make a difference in those type of stories. And they can't fall madly in love, truly madly, deeply as soon as they see each other. Like, yeah, they can fall in lust. They can be like, oh man, can't stand them. But I mean, that don't though. Like ooh-wee, you look real good. But I can't stand the way that your mouth moves. Like, just because I don't like the words that are coming out of your mouth. I don't think there's any problems when you have conflict right at the beginning of the story. I think that's, you really need it. You really need those conflicts. It doesn't have to be always cute. It doesn't have to be always fun and greatness. It can definitely be they have some problems, but none of those deal breakers. None of those deal breakers. And not to say that it doesn't have to have any issues at all. Obviously, I just say it. There can be some conflicts. A lot of fated, couples can get together after a lot of conflict that they've had because of in their meeting, and then they have to get over it. They have to work, they have to grow to love each other. So it's not a problem to have some issues at the beginning of their meeting. That's totally fine. But I will say those issues need to keep on going, because the next step is to get into the barrier or the conflict. Basically, that's everything that kind of stops them from reaching their happily ever after. So anything that can be thrown into their relationship, it'd be great, except for things like miscommunication and that kind of thing. Is just like, I'm not reading a young adult one. If I am reading a young adult story, if it's miscommunication, these are not adults, like fully formed brain people, then it's understandable. But when they're like just dumb, I can't do it either. Like I said, whatever floats your boat. But if the character is intelligent, then that means they're more than likely going to be able to communicate in some way, and the other character needs to be able to communicate also, and understand that all communication is not going to be words. Some communication obviously is going to be their actions. So you can see the things that they do. You're watching them. You're dealing with them. You can't stand them, but you have to still deal with them. You're going to be watching stuff. There are a lot of times where I've been friendships, relationships, whatever, everything's all great, but as soon as I start feeling like we're not cool or whatever, the little things that they do get on my nerves. So that meant I was actively ignoring it because I was cool with them, and then when we weren't cool anymore, oh my gosh, would you stop popping that gum? Like, I know you did it all the time before, but good gracious. Like, we're not cool. Everything you do aggravates me. So I understand, you kind of notice that. So if you're starting off like that, you notice it, and then some things you can get over, some things you can't. You're like, hey, can you please, would you mind, with the chewing? Like, you're in my ear. That's just like something that's kind of a bother. Anything that has basically put an obstacle in the way of the two characters getting together. So it could be internal, external situations that happen. So internal could be like, some doubts that they have, misconceived issues they have from previous meetings or something like that. That's totally fine. And then obstacles could be outside stuff. Like I said, a family feud, conflict going on. We can't be together. But I mean, you fine though. And I also can't stand the way your mouth moves, because you always saying something horrid or whatever. But like I said, do not verbally abuse the character. If you're verbally abusing somebody, there's no reason for you to get together. Moving on to the next step is your attraction. You're going to be building up this attraction, just like you're getting over the conflicts, the issues, the barriers that are from the beginning of the meeting. In some way, you're going to keep on building through those to get to the attraction. The attraction can start from the beginning too. Like I said, with the conflict, with the meat, like you can fall in lust. Like, oh man, if I couldn't stand his guts, he could get these guts. Like, it can be like that. I'm totally okay with that. I'm sorry, I'll be just giggling at some of the goofy stuff that I be saying. And it gets pointed out to me sometimes. I'm like, yeah, I do. So, sorry. But yeah, like I said, if you can't stand the guts from the beginning, but this character, you as a reader understand that, oh my goodness, they find at least that part. And then you also have attraction. That's the physical attraction. But then you need the mental attraction. You are attracted to their intelligence. You're attracted to their ability to get up on their feet after getting knocked down. Anything that they can do to make you think a little bit less animosity and a little more maybe we can get at it. That type of situation. And you show that they progress in that attraction throughout the story. That is very important to me. If they just flip, like, I can't stand his guts, and one small thing has happened, and then all of a sudden, you know what, we can spend a night together, okay? want to have a relationship with you now because of this one small thing. It does not really land because I don't think there's enough work going through it, especially if it's I don't need no man, and then they do one thing and you're like, you know what, maybe I can be a wife. maybe I can be your incubator. No, I cannot. But you can learn to be attracted to someone because of their actions, because of the change in their demeanor or something like that. When it comes down to the situations, because of how they handle situations, their attractions can be built. Show that throughout the story. Show that there's an actual viable reason for them to be getting together. Show a hint of them being together through this attraction throughout the story. Then you have your declaration. Like I said, the attraction has to have happened for quite some time. We had to have a nice progress, and it can be fast, but it's not instantaneous. Like, it can't be click, this is what we're doing. No, it's been a few actions, some actions to show that person is warming up to the other person, seeing that they're not just a piece of meat but everything else is like disgusting about them. Whatever it is, like, they actually progress, and then they declare. And a lot of times when they declare, and I'm meaning they declare their love for each other, one may accept it, one may not. One may be like, I can't handle this, I can't do this. And the other person may just be like, oh my gosh, I just opened up to this person and told them how I feel, and it was not reciprocated, and I'm embarrassed. That person could be like, nah, you just playing with me, ain't got no time, it doesn't matter. But that is a element that you need to have. There is a declaration in these romances. I love you, or I want to be with you forever. Anything like that will work for the declaration. In these stories, they're just basically in some way admitting that they love each other, and there could be some conflict within them doing that. Like I said, one could decline, and it continues the story, and they may have to do another declaration, or the other person declares instead. Like, play around with that particular element. I love it. Then the point of ritual death, basically, is something important to them has to be taken away. It doesn't have to be the only black or brown person that's in the story. It can be that just something else that has to do with the relationship being taken away from them. Something that is, bad, but they will have to overcome it later. How about them apples? Please stop doing that. I know y'all ain't gonna listen, but oh my gosh, please stop. Please stop it, y'all. Stop it. Good gracious. I'm so sorry. Okay. So then the next one is the recognition. They finally realize that internal change, that character growth, it has been spawned by the other person. Like, the reason why they're doing better is because the other person is helping them be better. They're understanding that the conflict that's within them is not the end all be all. And then they can make the choice. They can either decide to accept that they're going to have this issue and they're going to keep this issue. They can decide to change and do something different instead of what they normally would do because of this internal issue that they had, or they can move on. You know what, this is not it, but we're not going to worry about it anymore. That's totally fine. They release that inner conflict, and then they decide to be with that person, and then the happily ever after comes in the next step of the betrothal. They've reached it. They have admitted it. They've gotten through whatever the issue is, and they have persevered. They are able to actually be happy. And then the reader is happy because they've gone through all the steps of going into a nice, healthy relationship. The society has been changed. So whatever was the issue in the beginning, like say if we use the example of the feuding families, they're no longer feuding. And it's not because one family killed off the other. Oh my God. It's not because one family has killed off the other family, okay? It's because they've resolved the conflict. That's what's happened in the story. So that's pretty much the best layout definition. I'm not going to sit here and say it's like completely plotting, because all of these things don't happen in order or anything like that, but it does help when writing the short stories that I write to have some elements of the romance in it when I'm trying to hint at the relationship that the characters have outside of the smaller conflict that's within the short story. And then now what I'm working on with Spell of the Bayou, I definitely have all 8 of the elements in there. Now, later on, you know, somebody might be able to read it and then come back to this video and say, hey, you know, you didn't show this properly. Fine, that's cool, because this is my first novel. Understand? Please let me know. Hopefully it's gonna be my beta readers let me know this before you know, just a random reader sees it. But if not, okay, if you come to my comments and say something, then that means, you know, I'm allowed to respond and things like that. But don't think I'm gonna go on anybody else's comments. Oh my gosh, nope. Let's summarize. You have your society defined. You have what these people are going to be living in. So that's number 1. Then you have the meeting of these characters. It'd be fun if you have some conflict in that meeting. Then you have the conflict in the story. What's the conflict? What is the problem? Why can't these people be together? What is making them not like each other? Then the attraction that is built throughout the story. Like I said, this is not like a plotting all in order situation. The attraction can start from the meeting. The attraction can be like, if I couldn't stand you, you could get this kind of situation. Like from the beginning, it can start from the beginning. Then you have your declaration when they finally realize, like, yeah, I do like this person. I do want to be with this person. Then the point of ritual death, something that kind of messes up the relationship. And the recognition that, like, inner conflicts, any inner issues, the ritual death that has happened is being overcome, and the person is, you know, your person. They recognize that, and they go throughout the rest of the story fixing that. And then the betrothal, they are together. Everything's over. All the points have been ticked off. So there you have it. That is the 8 essential elements of romance as listed. Not as listed, because I definitely did not word it the way it's worded in the book, because I will say that the natural history of the romance novel is pretty textbooky. I was just trying to, like, condense it as much as possible when I was taking all of my notes, which I've taken a lot more notes, and I should have probably, I could have probably condensed it even more, even from this video. But in the end, that's basically the gist of the elements of romance. Now, there are some optional elements that I could probably go over, and I'm going to do that in another video because I don't want this one to be way too long. But what do you think about the elements of romance? What do you think about the dark romances that have been coming out and just, like, taking the world by storm lately? Let's talk about it in the comments. There are a lot, and I don't want to name them. I do, though. I don't know how these people, like, they can do this. There's 2 authors. I'd be like, how do y'all keep getting away with this? I mean, I understand, but I mean, how? Why are y'all okay with this? I don't know. But anyway, that's that. It's the elements of romance, and like I said, tell me what you think. Thank you so much for watching this goofy video that I threw together for February, but I did take off my goal of making sure I have at least 1 video per month. And let me know if you want to see another element of romance, the optional elements, the ones that maybe I've made up. Bye. Okay, sorry about that. I had to get off of that. Look at my hat.